Colorado Governor Jared Polis is cutting the prison sentence of 2020 election denier Tina Peters, the former county clerk convicted of helping breach her own county's voting machines. Peters was sentenced to 9 years after prosecutors proved she gave an unauthorized person access to Mesa County election equipment in the aftermath of the 2020 election, then helped spread false claims that the vote was stolen. Her case became a cause célèbre on the right, with President Trump repeatedly calling her a, quote, political prisoner and demanding that Colorado set her free. And on Friday, Governor Polis granted her clemency, shortening Peters' time behind bars, but leaving her felony conviction in place. In a social media post, Polis defended his decision, claiming while she committed serious crimes, Peters was given too harsh a sentence. Trying to overturn the government? Quote, I believe, based on the facts of the case, that her sentence is simply disproportionate for a first-time nonviolent offender. It's one of my bedrock beliefs that our laws should be applied fairly, and I simply do not believe that was what happened in this case. The move comes after months of pressure from Trump, who cast Peters as a martyr in this broader campaign to rewrite the history of the 2020 election. And shortly after Polis's announcement, Trump posted on social media, "Free Tina." Joining us now, Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold. Secretary, thank you for coming back to the weekend. Just your reaction to what Governor Polis did, and also his rationale that the punishment was disproportionate for the crime she committed. To my mind, trying to overturn a free and fair presidential election requires some serious punishment.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Truly, I believe this grant of clemency is a gross injustice to the people of Colorado, to our democracy, and to our nation. And it really sets a dangerous precedent on various levels. Tina Peters was no political prisoner. She compromised her voting equipment trying to prove Trump's big lie. Her actions and then her lies and conspiracies about her actions were used to further destabilize our elections and increase the threat level to election officials. So the fact that she is going to be released early in what I view as special treatment is just ridiculous, to tell you the truth. It sends a message to Trump's followers that if they break the law, well, they just may get off on federal charges, but also state charges. And I do think it will embolden the election denialism movement in this country at a time that is quite dangerous with our upcoming elections.
I hope the governor, who says that nonviolent first-time offenders shouldn't be in jail that long, is doing the same thing for Black and brown folks in Colorado who may have been first-time nonviolent offenders. But I digress. What message do you think the clemency sends to the election workers, volunteer mostly, the officials who are already facing threats and intimidation, already knowing that the elections moving forward are going to be chock full of people like Tina Peters and maybe violent folks unlike Tina Peters?
I think this clemency grant is truly demoralizing to election officials across the state and in my office. Since the big lie emerged, just the workload has been tremendously high, and the threat environment is real. We've actually had a near 40% turnover in elected county clerks in Colorado since 2020, in a big part because of the threat environment. After Tina Peters breached her system, I worked with our legislature and got passed a first-in-the-nation law on election insider threats, making it a felony to compromise voting equipment. And the fact of it is, this sends a message that, I'm there to enforce the law. My staff is, the county clerks are. But hey, if President Trump leans in, if he retaliates enough, just go ahead and potentially ignore the laws, you might get off. And that's just a very bad message. But it's also a message to President Trump that if he retaliates hard enough, a democratic state will give in. This is a lawless president. A lawless president trying to grab power in any way that he can. And we all have to stand strong in this moment to protect our country, the rule of law, and our democracy.
Secretary, let's actually run through some of those retaliatory actions quickly. Here are a sampling of headlines. The Trump administration moved to dissolve National Climate Research Lab in Colorado. That was in December of 2025. Trump vetoes bipartisan bill to fund clean water pipeline in southeastern Colorado. That was also at the end of last year. Trump administration freezes aid for low-income Colorado families in January. Trump again rejects Colorado amid accusations of playing politics with disaster aid. This was in April. The governor says that granting clemency to Tina Peters is not an attempt to placate Trump or to undo some of these retaliatory actions. But what is the rub here? I mean, why? There's always something with Trump. There's always some transactional nature when it comes to the deal making that this administration engages in and gets specifically a Democrat to go along with. What do you believe is the real reason? Or is the governor actually, is this just a public about face and he's told you something different privately?
He has told me nothing different privately, and I have no inside information. I believe that the retribution has something to do with it. Trump has been obsessed with Tina Peters. She is one of, or was one of the last people in the entire nation facing accountability for attacking American elections. Remember, day one of his second presidency, he pardoned 1,600 people who stormed the Capitol in that attempt to steal the presidency, right? So she's the last one, and he's continuing to push his big lie. So he's really wanted her out. He tried to unlawfully pardon her himself. That didn't work. Tried to get her moved into federal custody in the federal prison systems. That didn't work. Tried over and over to pressure the governor to pardon. And then ultimately, you know, we see this clemency grant. Look, I know it's really tough to have federal aid cut, big institutions moved out of the state of Colorado, literally over retribution over Tina Peters. But again, if we placate this lawless president who tries to bully his way into getting people to follow his lawless orders, democracy can fall. That's what this is about, ultimately. So overall, I think it's a bad decision. I think also election officials are in this fight and are going to be in this fight because they know what is at risk: the right to vote, the right for the people to determine our representation. I am confident they're going to stay in that fight. We are going to have great elections regardless of this decision, but it is a dark, dark time for democracy.
Amazing how much the 2020 election is still the beating heart of this administration. Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold, thank you so much for joining us this morning.